Lil Uzi and Future, they got too much sauce. I got too much light. You feel me? Let's do this thing. Because I don't got a lot of time. I'm going to devote the rest of my day to my craft. But in the space of sharing information, I like to do these IG lives. Just so. Peace to y'all. Hope everybody is doing well. I'm going to sip some of this coffee for about a minute or so. And, because I want people to kind of catch this from the beginning. So, for my people who watching this post live, just fast forward like a minute, because I'm about to go in and then I'm going to go out. I'm going to do a real quickie today. But don't laugh at me. My wife laughed at me, y'all. When I said quickie. I be saying some good ass jokes and you don't even be laughing. When I say quickie and then you start to snicker, okay.
I do laugh when you have your jokes.
You see that 623 though? Did you see the license plate before that though? It said 623, but then it said DEF, like devil, 623. Cannot make it up. Right. So, yeah, Moon and Scorpio. I like to keep track of the moon and building relationships and cultivating relationships because we have 11th house sun. And when you speak of relationships, 10 times out of 10 is how you project yourself to the world based upon your specialties and your qualities, your talents, and your attributes. And to get to your talents, all of this, getting it out, perfecting your craft, doing all of the things that you need to do, you're going to need some assistance, Ashe. None of us are superhero, human, mutant babies that can do everything with the flick of a hand. Sometimes it takes time, patience, perseverance, endurance, and things of that nature. So with all of that being said, you may, to all my women out there and men, let's be honest, right, invoke the goddess. And to my men on the flip side, and then my women on the flip side, let's be honest, that's a bar. You might want to evoke the goddess. But in all aspects, you want to deal with the goddess and goddess energy. Because whether or not a person wants to throw their drawers on the computer screen or on their phone screen, when I'm referencing my astrology chats and things of that nature, my wife was throwing draws at me when I probably didn't even deserve draws thrown at me. Because I was at a lowered state. But since my wife is a goddess, she healed me at core levels. What I said, she healed me at core levels of understanding. And always was that feminine goddess presence in my life that I could work with, not in the spiritual, but in the physical. When I was in relationships before I met my wife, they were always trying to keep me in the mundane. Talking about how much money I got, right? How good I look, how in I knew, how lame I was, how lame I wasn't, so forth and so on. The difference between my wife and my other relationships, no disrespect, was that we were out into nature dealing with the fairies and dealing with the goddess. So what do they call nature? They call nature Mother Nature. Okay? So when you deal with Mother Nature, you're now dealing with a more primordial, emotional aspect to life, which is centered in pleasure. The basis of me and my wife's relationship, we have our ins and outs, right? We don't agree on everything ideologically, right? We were raised in two different households and come from two different sides of the track. But where we meet is we got what we doing our Splackavelli. You understand what I'm talking about? Pleasure before pain, right? So, but me and my wife, trust me, we 5 years deep. You understand? We've been in this relationship for 5 years. But I'm going to be honest with y'all. I had some channels last night, and I'm going to be honest, even more honest with y'all. We made love last night, okay? It was very slow, very sensuous, very passionate. It was very good. So we're still in the realms of pleasure. We're not outside of that. Even if we struggle in different areas in our life. What I'm saying is that the most important thing in your relationship is the fact that you guys meet at pleasure core principles. And not just, this is the best sex of my life type of energy, but you able to experiment. You able to expand. You able to grow sexually. You able to progress. You able to gain weight, lose weight, understand your body, have children, go through postpartum, and still be loved at a pleasurable level throughout the process. Trust me, that'll sustain you more than money. Because money, you can't buy pleasure, right? And if you can buy pleasure, it's through drugs, through sex habits, through gambling habits, through dopamine release. But what me and my wife are trying to express is raising Kundalini. So another aspect of Moon and Scorpio is that we don't fall in love. We never really particularly fell in love. What we really did was rise in love. And it's a difference in the study of Kundalini and the ways of awakening Kundalini through orgasms for men and women. And a deeper aspect is working with the goddess. So people who resonate with me, people who gravitate to my message and want to deal with my services, whether it be readings or classes or books and things of that nature, are aspects and variations of the goddess. Now, the goddess has a specific mythology. The goddess comes from chaos. Okay? This is a short abbreviated version because we're doing a quickie. Moon and Scorpio. The pussy is good. No pun intended. The goddess is chaos. So, to give you an analogy of chaos, to not give you anxiety in reference to chaos, chaos is when you pay all of the bills. Not even like you got a little bit of money. You got a lot of money. You making seven figures, right? But not only is you making seven figures, you like a pastor or something. Like, not even a pastor, you a minister. So you a good dude. And you don't even cheat. And women throw you the pussy all the time because you a prominent figure, right? Chaos is when you come home, your wife calling you an ain't shit nigga. And you ain't who people think you is, right? That's chaos. Because in everybody else's mind, you supposed to be happy. But the reality of relationships is that they require effort. The reality of relationships are their mental strategies that are successful. It's mental aerobics that get you stronger, and through conversation. That's relationships. But you didn't marry her for her relationship. You married her for that goddamn yoni power. Ashe? You married her because she was a goddess. So as men, what is more serviceable for us in our relationships? To put our women on the front line, telling her she got to get a job, telling her she got to put this money, bring home money and things of that nature because you working too hard and things of that nature? Or would you have her deal with her non-physical energy? So what is the goddess? People might say, okay, what is the goddess? I'm going to tell you what the goddess is. The goddess is not limited to anything that I'm saying, but the goddess shows up in all of these particular areas. So the first thing that I'm going to say is the goddess is every single spiritual practice known to man. Okay? The goddess is non-physical beingness. The goddess is imagination. The goddess is spiritual power manifest. Okay? The goddess is hoodoo. The goddess is voodoo. The goddess is Christianity. The goddess is Islam, Muslim, Nation of Islam. The goddess is trying to think. The goddess is commerce. The goddess is sex. The goddess is war. The goddess is pleasure. The goddess is love. The goddess is everything outside of the physical world. Everything outside of the physical world. The goddess is chaos. How do you then translate all of those things that I said in relation to your life? Your relationship with non-physical practice is your relationship to power. Your sadness, your depression, your anxiety is like looking at a brick wall and hoping that by the grace of God that this brick wall will move or vanish one day. Dealing with the goddess is thus turning around and realizing that you have a whole open world that you could begin to interface with and play with and understand and explore. So how do you then turn around? Because I'm trying to make it really real. It is in the pleasure of your yoni. So ultimately, your relationships are that of, that's my friend, that's my homie, that's my this, that's my that. But do you have a relationship with your pleasure? So we're dealing with the second deacon of Scorpio. So the cards, and from different pantheons, we have Rider Waite, which has the Six of Cups, and it's like a childhood energy. But that's where we come from. Children come from the womb. In the Thoth Tarot deck, you have the Six of Cups, which represents pleasure. Now, you ever rubbed on her knee and she got excited? Rubbed her on her thigh. She got a little bit more excited and then started to rub on that sweet spot. Then she got super excited. Now clothes is coming off. Your clothes is coming off. Your underwears is coming off because you done hit that pleasure center and you done got access to that pleasure center. And you know, it's a privilege. It's divine. It's the most powerful aspect in life. So when men not only have a lot of money, have a lot of success, have a lot of this, have a lot of that, but they have a wife that they find sacred, that they find pleasure in, that she finds pleasure in them, that is true happiness. The difference is being in a relationship for money, being in a relationship for security, being in a relationship for protection, and be invested in that relationship, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking name, tax, and title. Vested and invested in this motherfucker, and that nigga ain't even making you come. Oh, she ready to fucking throw fucking vases across the fucking room. You hear me? Ain't no level of mad that I could imagine in COVID, right? You locked in a goddamn house with this nigga. Y'all teleworking and working from home and shit, right? And no sexual healing happening. When this energy This 5 year is specific to sexual healing. So ultimately, you'll have a whole bunch of people come on YouTube, come on Instagram, talk about this, talk about that, talk about phlegm, talk about flam, talk about mum, talk about bo, talk about jum, talk about bo, right? But ultimately, does it make you feel good in your yoni, right? Motherfuckers don't want to talk about that shit. Cause trust me, that ain't just no shit that you can just overlook and say, well, at least I got money. At least I feel good. At least I'm happy, right? Because when you in your darkest days, you gonna need that basement, right? When you got a storm coming, when you in your emotional self and you don't have nobody to hold you, it's you can kind of see on both levels where you could be single and not in touch with your goddess, or you can be in a relationship and not in touch with your goddess. And ultimately, the goddess is so raw, she's so chaotic that she not even going to limit it to just women. she'll endow and drape off and give all of her love and good grace to a man. That's how chaotic the goddess is. That's how unlimiting the goddess is. The goddess is spiritual power. The goddess is psychic functions, right? The goddess is being aware of your non-physical beingness, and to build your psychic gifts, you cannot be clocking in 8 hours a day. Ashe? It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Dependent on if you see, survival and pleasure can't exist in the same space. So I'm going to just bring up these couple of quotes to just understand. To be in a life that's devoted to pleasure is the key. But ultimately, so when you deal with the moon in Scorpio, you dealing with the moon in your sacral chakra, right? You dealing with the moon in your emotional body. And we tend to lie to our emotional bodies. Because if I asked y'all how y'all was doing today, y'all would say, fine, good, oh, I'm doing great. You ain't gotta lie to me, right? You could, matter of fact, you can lie to me. But just because you tell everybody you fucking stupendous, don't mean that you feeling stupendous. The thing that balances me, the thing that centers me, is the fact that my wife steams on the rig, right? And the fact that we practice safe sex, right? Meaning that the sex that we have, ain't no babies coming. We're in it for the pleasure, we're in it for the orgasms, and we gone. But trust and believe, I do not live a life without sex. So when you say, oh, I'm single, but I'm still having sex, how the fuck do that sound? That sound real crazy when it's talking about your emotional body. Because say, for instance, the person that you are having this bond with decides, hey, we ain't got no real ties, I'm about to go elsewhere. What is then your emotional body going to do? Make sense out of your logic that these niggas is for everybody? Or, oh, let's listen to Cash Doll and feel better. It don't really necessarily work like that when you reference your emotional body, when you reference your womb. Meaning that your lowest part and your highest part is deeply disconnected in a space that they don't think the same way. Meaning that your Malkuth and your Kether is two different variations. So when you reference Scorpio, you're referencing not Kether, but the energy right before Kether, the womb, the space of creation. Now, another aspect of today is, are you going to spend the day working hard? This is Friday, okay? This is Friday. What is Friday? Today is the day of the goddess. Okay? Whether you're talking about Venus, whether you're talking about Freya, Frigg, Isis, Oshun, right? These are the days of the god. This is the day of the goddess. Now, what does the goddess represent? The goddess represents pleasure. The goddess represents the emotional body. But this is the core of non-physical beingness. Because how many times have you ever went to a store? How many times have you ever went to the store and said, "Can I buy happiness? Y'all, how much is y'all happiness today?" You know what? I tried happiness last week. I'm gonna go for our multiple orgasms. You said, yeah, I was saving up for multiple orgasms. Yeah. I was gonna do half on credit and half on layaway and put 10% down, right? That's what the sign said outside. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to buy, yeah. Mom, I need you to co-sign on this multiple orgasm that I'm trying to buy. I'm at the store right now. So I'm doing half credit, half layaway, 10% down, and the payments are what? $5,000 a month? Yeah, for how long? 26 months? Yeah, Mom, I need you to co-sign this for me. Yeah, I need these multiple orgasms, right? You never heard of that conversation before. Why? Because things such as multiple orgasms, the things such as pleasure, the things of non-physical beingness cannot be bought. The things such as psychic powers and psychic ability, you can't buy these things. And the mind fuck is that working hard or working is going to be your saving grace in this life. Well, no, the actual relation to your primal self is having a centered emotional body, which comes from homeostasis. So the thing that throws you out of homeostasis is doing some shit that you don't really want to fucking do. But then creating an ideology upon pathology, upon training to say, this is my life purpose or path to wipe other people's ass or answer this phone when people call and ask me questions about this damn iPhone, right? This is my path. This is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. No, it the fuck isn't. Your life is to find your pleasure. Not say that you found your pleasure, because now you're a lazy fuckity fuck, right? You're not doing shit. But to be devoted and headed towards your pleasure. This is where you get into ritual. This is where you get into practice. This is where you get into devotion. This is where you get into worship. This is where you get into invocation. This is where you get into evocation. This is where you get into magic. This is where you get into manifestation, because you are finding your pleasure. You are creating and manifesting from your pleasure, because you can't help but to manifest. Meaning that if you having some sex and some loving and some fucking that's just so good, and you can't even pull out because the sex is just so good, and she's ovulating and you're orgasming, and that fucking egg cell, right, is right there to meet that sperm, right in the center of the most cosmic, deepest orgasm known to man. You have created from pleasure without even fucking thinking about it. You made a fucking baby, right? Off some good ass fucking loving, right? Meaning that when you are in pleasurable states of consciousness, you can't help but to create. The thing then now is what the fuck you're doing pleasurable. Is money making pleasurable to you? Do money actually make you come, or is that a fucking song by Rick Ross? Or do slow strokes with under candlelight with soft kisses on your neck make you come? Or do fucking white people or fucking pieces of paper literally give you multiple orgasms? Like, really think about that shit. Some of these rap songs lie to people in reference to finding the actual point of pleasure, and young women especially, because a young woman today is going to listen to this like, fuck what that nigga was talking about. Give me my money, nigga. Run me my money. You ain't fucking me without money. You ain't fucking with me without money. And generally, women don't really even understand that the man who would deal with you through money is not even the man that will actually you'll even have a future with. Because they don't even understand. It's like fucking having a relationship with a dog. Fucking pit bull or a German shepherd. If a dude will pay for pussy, that nigga's on the level of a fucking German shepherd. Cause ain't no rational, reasonable man gonna even do that. Especially if he got a wife at home that is devoted to pleasure. See, a lot of things, then it comes into, what do you do to pleasure your wife? Very little. The goal is to find her pleasure within herself, to be devoted, to live a life devoted to pleasure. And this is the key to living in 2021 and being aligned. Because when you begin to understand certain aspects in relation to your body, in relation to consciousness, in relation to sex. See, a lot of people talk about body. A lot of people talk about consciousness. Be healthy in body, be ritualistic in consciousness, and still not manifest shit. I guarantee you, man, woman, in love with each other, conversational, emotionally tied, having sex through mantras, chants, intentions, manifest things just because, the same way they manifest a child. Hopefully y'all understand this. So when you might see a couple that's 5 years, 10 years deep, not into lust, but 5 years deep into love and love making. So what do you do when you make love? You make love, like you create love. Before you began to have that actual exchange of energy, there was no love there. But you begin to be like a blacksmith, right? Creating metal or creating energy by the friction or the either. Just sometimes you just can just put it in and just let it sit there for a second and just look at each other and just, sometimes we just put it in and go to sleep like that. Sometimes you create it through the friction and you make love, but it's many variations. But the concept is that you have a masculine and feminine partner. You have a positive and negative charge. Now, if you know anything about vehicles, a vehicle is not going to start unless it has a positive and negative charge. So within your relationships and through your sex, the woman is the negative charge, the chaotic charge. The man is the masculine charge. And understanding these roles and magical rituals, and then understanding the energy of the goddess and how she shows up in any form allows you to be undefeated, untouchable. Every success that I have ever experienced is because I have dealt with the goddess in real life and afterlife. Okay? So it's not like the only reason that you might even be resonating to me is because you are a goddess. And it's a difference between women and goddesses. Women have different sets of rules and variations. Goddesses do whatever the fuck they want. But the key to it is finding their pleasure, because you want to find your pleasure because you are a natural manifester. And so if you are living the life of pleasure, you manifest from that space. Now, when you do not have that pleasure, you manifest from that lack of pleasure. So this is why the money don't cut it. This is why the house don't cut it. This is why the clothes don't cut it. This is why the clout don't cut it. This is why followers don't cut it. This is why a successful class, a successful endeavor, a successful venture, anything outside of the realms of sexual pleasure will not cut it for a goddess. A woman can do exactly what a man can do. And generally, if you live in your life based upon what somebody else is doing, you're going to be confused. This is why being in tune with your emotional body, really finding your pleasure from the inside out, and being comfortable. I'm so comfortable with myself that it could be a nigga right next to me with muscles and money and chains and all types of shit. And I know for a fact that if the girl fuck with him, she's making a wrong decision. I know that she's making a wrong decision. Because I know that my capacity to love is much larger based upon my non-physical beingness, based upon my function of understanding how the orgasm then connects directly to the goddess. It's like a direct line to God, direct line to manifestation. The condition of my success is solely dependent on providing for my wife, because I realize positivity and building things up and starting things from zero. And that's where my wife was. That's where I was when my wife found me. Let me be clear. My wife has always been at an elevated level and has always strived to pull and pick me up. And she was successful in that. So I don't then look at the world and say, damn, I'm that nigga. I'm always grateful, because if it wasn't for my wife's love, I would not be here. Because y'all would have seen me and like, look at the dust on that nigga right there. Next time I come see this nigga, I'm going to bring a Swiffer. I'm going to bring a vacuum the next time. Like, literally, this nigga sat in my car and got dust everywhere. So my wife had x-ray vision to see through the dust and lift me up and put me in places that I never thought that I would be. And so I'm always like through life, through death, I'm indebted and tied to this woman. Like she has put me in a place, and it's not even a point where we are separate entities. And ultimately, as a man, you have to reinforce this, because generally the natural understanding of life is very skewed and misrepresented. Like, sometimes people don't feel like they deserve the best, right? I know it sounds crazy, but your self-loathing and self-rejection of pleasure, or manipulated pleasure through like mechanical devices and shit. I know I'm hitting a soft spot, but you got to understand that the pleasure that I'm referencing comes from the mind of a man and his intention to please you on multiple levels. But we're also talking about a man that your ancestors and your higher self has vetted and said, this is the energy for you, and you are the energy for that. And you two come together and you find different ways to find pleasure in life, because no matter where you're at, if you two can find pleasure, you can find access to the goddess. And within the goddess, you can find manifestations of this or that and this and that, and have this and have that. Cool. You can do it. But once again, are you staring at this brick wall and being depressed because it's a brick wall in front of you and you never turn around? And what does turn around mean? It means developing a clean and clear relationship with your womb. For men, y'all got dirty urethras. Y'all be fucking every woman that y'all can, and y'all be sitting at home sad and depressed because your urethra is blocked. I know what it was to be a do dirty nigga. You don't got no STDs, but when you pee, it hurt a little bit because you got blocked urethra energy. You gotta sting that urethra out, fellas. Women, I dealt with the niggas first, so don't say that I'm one-sided with this energy. But don't go into your relationship giving a man no unsteamed pussy, right? That's not even called for out here in these streets in 2021. We have to be very clear about how we communicate to our partners, and it is through pleasure. Now, the thing about herbs, the thing about steam, the thing about water is that it pure, like, you wash your face every day, you brush your teeth every day. So do the same with your, because you can't be imagining that you sticking something in your yoni and you doing something that's helpful, right? Talking about the yoni crystals, the yoni pearls, and all of that shit, right? Because once again, you referencing something that is very, very smart. What am I talking about? So if you had if both partners had an orgasm right at the same time, your yoni would then say, okay, let's produce a baby. Nothing that you was thinking about was in the process of your yoni creating that baby. The only thing you could do is take a plan B or do something to disrupt that process. But overall, your womb has a system that works naturally. So when we reference steaming, that's a cleaning or a cleansing, like to get that system to work naturally. When you try to manipulate it through particular eggs or pearls and thingamajigs, just literally thinking like sticking something up in there is like, this is just what I received. Y'all gonna do what y'all gonna do anyway. But if I'm talking to you, let me just talk to you. Sticking stuff up there that's not with an intention is bad. Do that make sense?
You don't have to tell me.
Like, anything that goes within you should have the intention to provide you with pleasure. I'm not thinking like, oh, let me get my shit off, I'm with my wife. I'm thinking specifically, how can I position myself? What angle, what vibration, what stroke is going to be the most pleasurable for her?
The voltage is too low.
This car is funny as fuck.
Man, what was the name of that car?
Kit.
Okay.
So, once again, a lot of this information that I'm referencing is coming from a channel that I received last night. And if this information is like resonating with you and if it makes sense, it's because you're a goddess. And the modality for goddess is finding your pleasure. Generally, living somebody else's life, following what somebody else should tell you what to do, somebody telling you what's right or what's wrong, that's not the way to go. You got to really tune into your pleasure. But what I would say as a word of advice is put some action to that shit. Put some leverage to that shit. Put some stank on that shit. Make it matter, right? If you go into the Secretary of State, fill out that fucking LLC form, but not just fill out that LLC form, do something in the form of your business. Cause stop thinking about, I got a vision, I had a dream, or I wanted to do this business.
That's all that it is.
And that's all that the fuck it is. Do something with it. Cause what you'll notice, correct me if I'm wrong, babe, but when you start to put action to what you are receiving, you'll be like, damn, That's why I even had the message in the first place. Not to just have it, but to experience what it feels like to start a business, to project yourself, or to build a team, or to do all of these particular things, or whatever it is that you want to do. It requires some action, but it's probably a wayward action, or a left turn, or a completely reversal to what you have been doing. But this is where you trust in the goddess. This is where you trust in the non-physical. And the more that you trust in this non-physicalness, the more you trust in your psychic gifts. But as a man, your responsibility to the goddess is to uphold that energy and keep that energy. If she's going through something, if she's down and out, I'm not saying that you're supposed to sex problems away, but I'm saying provide comfort, provide nurturing, provide care. Don't look at your wife or your significant other as an enemy. Always look at that. Always remember, when we go through our tough times, I remember everywhere that we came from. What?
Look like you.
Did it? It looked like Jay-Z to me.
No, because he was smoking and he was in his little groove. And that's just what I always imagine you doing when you was driving your truck.
Turning corners just like that. Like, I'm so happy it wasn't no car there, because this whole company vehicle is going to be a total.
Sorry.
Good graces.
that was funny to me.
But it was a deep channel. And then we was driving. What the hell? And we seen this. We seen a vulture eating a rabbit. And I'm like, very symbolic. Because if you ever watch my YouTube video, the Oshun Igbo Kule, we personified the energy of a vulture into the original path of Oshun. And of course, you know that the rabbit is fertility, but we're in a space of understanding that death is an expansion into non-physical beingness. And I'm not going to do a long video, but I will say that the ancestors, they don't die. They transform into another being. And ultimately, when they decide to come back, they come back as children through your womb. So as living vessels for the divine, you are portals for the ancestors. And this is a responsibility. So as this responsibility strengthens and you need support, you tune into your goddess and you follow your goddess. Your goddess tells you what to do all the time. You can't tell me. I talk to so many people and they be telling me, oh, my ancestors tell me to quit my job, but I be telling my ancestors to go to hell. Oh, my ancestors tell me I should have been talk to you, but I felt like I just da-da-da-da. So it's like, I'm not going to press it. I'm not going to say, oh, the link is in the bio, reach out for a reading or nothing like that. I'm just going to say, in this process, in this evolutionary process, you're going to need to tie into something. You're going to need to tap into something. And the thing that, to summarize it, I guess, to give you a conclusion paragraph, the modality of pleasure is something that anybody can tap into. Living a life, finding your pleasure, figuring out your pleasure is a modality that anybody can tap into. So if you woke up with $1 million today and you wasn't happy, you got to begin to find your pleasure. If you woke up with $10 in the bank and you woke up unhappy, you got to find your pleasure. Today, I got a reading to do. And this reading is centered in all of the things that I'm talking about. So I'm focused in on my pleasure. I'm locked in on my pleasure. I know what I need to say. I know what I got to say. I know how important this work is that I do. And I know that it's only for the chosen. So that's why I charge the way I charge. That's why I don't even tell people about even if I do readings or not. You understand? Because I'm not even necessarily trying to promote shit to nobody. I'm just trying to say that if you have goddess energy, you got to do something about it, right? And it don't matter about your life circumstances. It don't matter about your health. It don't matter what your body look like. It don't matter what your skin look like. It don't matter what nothing look like. It matters how well you tap into non-physical beingness, how well you can commune with fairies, how deep you can go into nature, how deep you can go into your initiations, how deep you can go into your rituals, how deep you can go into your research and understanding.
I was trying to show you real quick. The goddess was coming through as you were saying that.
As I was saying that, it's a 3333.
I forgot. Sorry.
No, I seen it. I seen it as you were showing it.
And it's for esteem.
Ashe.
Ashe.
So, with that being said, man, you can look at the links in the bio if you want to. You could talk to somebody that you know, but get in tune with your body. Fellas, do not be out here, bro, fucking every woman that give you pussy, fam. That shit is stupid, because you thinking about yourself. And when you reference the world and the need for our community, we need men to start thinking about other people. Now, when we talk about it, it might be like, well, I can't do it, this, that, and the third. But if you a man and you quality and you know what time it is, you understand this shit. And it ain't like, ain't no woman really fucking with you. You got about 6 or 7 of them, bro. But you know one of them is real. But they all giving you ass, so you feel like the man. But what about your urethra, bro? Like, what about your urethra? Seriously, think about it. You sliding in and out, and then you absorbing her vaginal fluids in your urethra. And it's attaching to your urethra line. The walls of your urethra, it's attaching to it. And then you go have sex with another person. And I know you having sex raw. Because if you having sex with condoms, then you depositing latex and noxinol 9 into the womb. I know y'all not having sex with condoms, right? I know y'all not having sex with condoms in the moon in Scorpio. You think that's safe sex? You think that the niggas in the lab coats was worried about your womb when they was trying to do population control? You think they was trying to keep you safe when they was trying to control the population with this latex and non-noxinol 9 and them chemicals that they put on those condoms? So, of course, y'all having sex without condoms, right? But y'all not even steaming out the energy. Men and women. You got all of this energy trapped in your urethra. And then you look online and you won't even find nothing in relation to how to steam for a man. It's like, we ain't even supposed to do it. Like, so, and then you got a main line, and your main line just the girl that you be, you releasing. Guess what you releasing into your main line? All of your side chicks' energy. And so the next day you show up, she slashing your tires, busting out your windows, because she's so mad that she got to fight through DNA from another person's ancestors, another person's higher self, another person's life path. She doing her cosmetology shit. Now all of a sudden she want to be a chef. Now all of a sudden she want to play basketball. She 5'2". Ain't never played sports, but she thinks she plays. Now she could play hoops. Where is this energy coming from? It's coming from Tyrell's cheating ass, right? And Tyrell then absorbed Shanae's energy and then deposited Shanae's energy in Sharitha's. And now Sharitha is sitting there confused about life. So at the very least, we could be understanding the energy that we passing and exchanging to our partners that we say to love. And then you pay her rent, you live with her, you know, you got your weed and coke and guns over her house, and then you having sex with another woman. That's dangerous as fuck when you really think about it, because if she might turn on you based upon, and it ain't nothing that you did specifically wrong, but when you reference the moon in Scorpio, when you reference the core emotional body, sometimes motherfuckers don't want to process other people's shit when they ain't even finished processing their own shit. You understand that? Like, you gotta understand this. And I'm talking, like, I know when you was 20 and shit, and you was just fucking, you was trying to figure it out. It's dudes my age, 36. Dirty urethras. Dirty urethras. And so, one way is to be faithful to a strict amount of energy. The second way is to steam that urethra. And you steam it the same way as a man steam it. Because when you reference your womb, when you reference your urethra, you referencing your actual portal for ancestral energy. And so this concept of music, rap, entertainment is all dedicated to you fucking up your life, fucking up your emotional body. Because you don't think with your mind. You think with your fucking dick in your vagina. That's how you really think. So if you trick society to say, oh, just focus on your mind, focus on your money, focus on your well-being, focus on your self-preservation and things of that nature, what then are you also saying is that, oh, your lower thoughts don't even matter. Your digestive system don't matter. Your womb don't matter. Your manifestations don't matter. You can manifest from just Kether alone. And this is why y'all think y'all can come on chat rooms and talk on people's videos. I ain't talking about this video, but it be some videos where people just start pontificating on shit. They just start talking all this type of shit of what they think. But consciousness is as real as you having sex with a woman and creating a baby. So with that being said, if you're not able to manifest at a spiritual level at the same degree, then the problem is not what you're thinking. The problem is not with your diet. The problem is thus dealing and addressing your womb. And your womb is centered on pleasure. The thing about certain pleasure is that the tampons, the maxi pads, the panties even with the dyes. Am I lying? Am I lying?
Yeah, I ain't say nothing. No rebuttal from me.
Is blocking that energy. The Victoria's Secret is that she's taking and absorbing your energy, having you pay for things and provide a block of energy, as opposed to being vulnerable. See this? Nothing is more of an aphrodisiac than nakedness and naturalness. That creates the ocean. The ocean is the same energy that secretes between your legs when you arouse. There's no difference between the ocean water and the energy that you secrete naturally through arousal. Where does that arousal water come from? Well, scientists say they don't know where this come from. It's almost a magical process. So to summarize everything that I'm referencing, that arousal, that wetness, or your ability to be wet, is your understanding of creating, turning water into wine, right? Taking 2 fish and feeding the whole village, right? This is the goddess. This is the magic of goddess, because a man can be a president of the country, but at the end of the day, he gonna want to lay between some wet vagina. Do y'all understand that? A man could be a CEO, did everything in the world, and came home. He gonna want to say, damn, my wife got that thing wet for me. She must really like me at a deep emotional level. So Now, when you put the lube on tonight, think about that and then try to figure out if you actually focusing in on your pleasure or you're ignoring your pleasure by having sex with somebody for protection, security, and not true love and not true pleasure. But trust me, I guess I could go on and on and on and on, but I'm gonna go finish preparing for this reading, and I will talk to y'all mañana about something else. Peace. Ashe.